So we've got some more polling out about impeachment. This one coming from Quinnipiac New Poll today. Impeachment and really the state of Donald Trump's political health right now as this impeachment inquiry plays out. So first of all, just that basic question, Trump's approval rating in this Quinnipiac poll, you see it comes in at 38%. 38% approval, 58% disapproval. That is one of the lowest numbers that's out there right now for Trump. I think the lowest number, tied for the lowest number that Quinnipiac has found this year when it comes to Trump's approval rating. So obviously they show him on the lower side. We've always talked about his range being high 30s on a bad day, low to mid 40s when things get better for him. So he's at the lower end of what he's been doing in his presidency, just in terms of the approval rating, and that's probably related to folks' attitudes on impeachment in this Quinnipiac poll. The question is, should Trump be impeached and removed from office? In this poll, there's plurality support for that. It's 48% say yes, he should be impeached and removed from office. 46% say no, he shouldn't. Again, Quinnipiac has been testing this question a number of times over the last few weeks. This is slightly higher than it was the last time they checked. This is the highest support for impeachment and removal they've gotten yet. It's not overwhelming support, obviously. It's 48-46, but that is higher than they have gotten before. Notably, though, we always talk about the politics of this. Republican members of Congress, Republican senators, if it comes to that, who feel their base is very strongly behind Donald Trump, there's a sense that that number would have to move. The Republican base would have to start to move against Trump for Republican members of Congress, Republican senators, to do that well in this poll. Even though 48-46 support impeaching and removing, when you narrow that down to just Republicans, it's 6% support impeaching and removing, 91% opposed. So I think there's still a school of thought out there that as long as that Republican number stays around there, you're unlikely to see a big move of Republican elected officials, but obviously keep an eye and see if that changes in the next wave of polling.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.